and welcome to the newest episode of Deliver More, the only Teflon talk show that is here to entertain and educate you on all things Teflon coatings. As usual, I am here, your host, Francesca, with Fluorogistx guys, Mike Patterson. Say hello, Mike.
Hello, Mike.
And of course, Chris Lord, who we all know and love as Wolfy. Wolfy, say hello to the people.
Hello, people.
You guys are so obedient. I love it. This is great. It's almost like you're robots, not humans, which is
a bot.
Perfect for our episode today, because this is the day that we are delving into the role of AI for a coder's business, and specifically Teflon coating. Because I think, we've all heard that AI is coming for your jobs. No matter who you are, it's coming for your jobs. Obviously, we know we can't spray Teflon, at least not yet. But there's plenty to applying Teflon coatings. And I think AI and ChatGPT in particular are quickly overcoming Google for a search engine and for coming up with answers. So it's really important to understand AI's, strengths and weaknesses, because we don't want to rely on it the wrong way. Right?
There you go. Well said.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is what we're going to do to test its strength, its tensile strength to say. And that is, we are going to pit the Teflon guys against AI. We are taking 3 real world, actual, real customer, questions, inquiries that they have sent into the guys in the past. And we are going to ask the guys, and we are going to ask AI, and we are going to see who comes out on top. So, Mike, do you have a prediction for how this is going to go?
I do, because I think ChatGPT is really good for certain things, and I've been using it for like Excel type work and some different things like that. But as it stands now, I know it draws a lot of its information and a lot of its answers from things that are publicly available on the web. So a lot of the stuff that we have is from our technical background. It's not on the web. It's in our heads, and it's stuff that we've learned over years of seeing things and having conversations with people and learning a lot of things that isn't written down. So until there's a time when someone wants to go and start training a bot to take what's in our head and train them with it, I don't see how it's going to be as accurate as what we're going to do.
All right, Mike, put him down for he's going to win. AI is no threat to him.
Chris is worried. I can tell by the look on his face.
Yeah. I mean, are you a little scared of being too domesticated into the wolf, and from a wolf to a pup by AI?
No. I mean, I'll be honest. It's my little bit of kind of my infancy stage in using it is it's impressive. I like the formatting for some of the inquiries that I've made. It's something that would take me a long time to put together. And I basically go in and tweak the information, but it lays it out in a pretty nice format. And of course, some of the, company things that we have to say are of course not in there that I have to input. So,
disclaimers,
disclaimers and things like that. So, I mean, you still have some work to do. It's not like just hit a button and then fire it off. There's more to it than that. And I think the biggest thing that Mike was pointing out is the real world experience that we have. There's just no replacement for that. I mean, being on site, seeing how stuff is done, talking to guys, and them giving you some of the things that they've experienced, it's just not out there. And I don't know that it ever will be. We'll see. But I still like my answers versus what ChatGPT is putting out there.
Excellent. All right. So we've got the guys on one side, and they know that they are going to come out victorious. But I'm really interested in what the people listening and watching are thinking, if you guys can top AI. Honestly, though, it's not that big of a surprise. I agree. AI doesn't have all of your knowledge, all of your experience. So, of course, it's not going to be this perfect replacement. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have a place and have a space in the whole industry.
Sure.
So it's going to be fun to see what it can do, and then to see what that means for other people and how it can actually make their jobs easier, maybe make more room for them to do bigger things that AI could never do.
Right. And I think how I if I was to think back on my answer that you first asked, I think it's going to get part of the answer right. So I
Mhm.
think it's going to get 60, 70% of the way there, maybe, but that's not good enough
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I mean, if you're not getting really, really close to 100%, then you're that margin for error in either a wrong product selection or a bad technical piece of advice, like that could be a big problem for end user. So, 60% is a failure. It's got to be in the 90s to get close,
sure.
and it's not going to be there yet.
That's a
It'll be there
great
in two
point.
weeks, maybe, but the way it's going.
That could be. We are moving fast here. And speaking of, we want to move right along to
Let's
our
do it.
very first question. So, here is the customer inquiry that came in. The customer simply said, I am looking for unfilled/virgin PFA coating for some Hastelloy C276 components for a high purity acid application. Do you offer this coating material? And what other things do I need to know in order to make a product selection? So we are kind of talking about a product selection question, I would say. Wolfy, I want to hear how you would take this on. If you got this question from phone call, what is the quote unquote correct answer here?
Well, so what's really funny is a lot of times you're trying to get to the correct answer, and there's always other information that you need. So, like, I'm not gonna. I'm going to answer that question with more questions. I'm not going
Mhm.
to say like, yes, it will work, no problem, go for it, dude, have fun and good luck. That's not what we're doing here. I mean, there are gaps, and we see this all the time. So it's not surprising to me that somebody would type in an inquiry to ChatGPT and it would be incomplete or not have enough information because we get it in phone calls all the time. When we ask questions to people, one thing, temperature, there was no mention of temperature in there, so we know nothing about that. That's important. Concentration of the acid, or even more specifics about the acid itself. And another thing that was not in there that we definitely want to know about is part information. Like Hastelloy is an alloy. It's a high performing. It already has like some either corrosion or chemical resistance, capabilities to it. One thing that Teflon does allow you to do is to not use those expensive metals, for parts. And they've probably already made this decision that that's what they're going with. But can the part be coated? I mean, I want to know,
Yep.
how big is this piece? Because like if I'm looking at PFA, like my PFA line, especially unfilled, is are they mainly powders? So, you need to be able to do a good powder application. And is this part going to lend to that just based on size or weight or things like that? So,
Geometry.
precisely. So, like, those things are super important. I'm assuming these are new pieces. They're not used, but I don't know if they have any history,
Mhm.
with just a PFA or if there's something that they've done in the past. Um, whether it worked or not, or maybe there's something that's better, not really sure. Kind of also want to know what industry they're into. It looks like they're kind of going down this high purity route with the virgin PFA. So that's always good to know.
All right. So you need to ask a lot more questions before you're even going to touch a product
Sure.
recommendation. Mike, did you hear anything in Wolfie's answer that you feel like you want to respond to or anything that you want to add?
I think he covered basically everything there. And the key element being is, yeah, there's not enough information for us to make a responsible product selection. Like we could say, oh, here's unfilled PFA. Here's our virgin product codes. It's 5010, 5011, 9410, 7410. Here they are. Go ahead, have fun, man. Like we could easily do that, but that's not really a responsible way for us to handle the product line and to try to position the customer to be successful. So all the things we need to understand as far as can it even be coded, how thick does it need to be, and all that stuff. Are they going to do it themselves, or do they need to have someone else do it
Mhm.
and get a coder involved? So there's a lot more to this, and it may seem like it's like a 2 or 3 sentence question that pops in, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember this one, so it must be you got this one before, Chris. That's how you knew all those questions because you already asked them. But
Well, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I mean this is pretty typical of the type of thing we get is people think I think I need this, but here, let me know. And a
Is
lot
that
more needs.
is that shortage of information usually somebody holding back because they want to give you the minimum in case like things are protected under NDAs or like they have
Uh-uh.
secrets
They just
or
don't know. And a lot of times they don't know what we need. You know,
Yeah.
they as soon as you ask them, they're like, oh, yeah, here's the, and sometimes they know the answers, other times they don't, and they'll have to go and find them and come back. I mean, it's pretty typical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, in our training, we have those 10 questions, and like
Hmm.
if they had that, they would probably have been able to kind of
Yep.
really nail things down because we ask a lot of those questions. But like if I were to, or what Mike was saying, like if I just said 532G 5010 and moved on, we call that Teflon malpractice.
Yeah.
Because we just were like, what was I
Yeah.
doing? Was I watching like a YouTube video and I just wanted to get that off my desk? Or, if I just get like, go ahead, man. Yeah,
The
just here,
Phillies
Yeah.
here
were
you
on.
go. It's in stock. Don't worry about
And you find out, you find out later the guy has a 500-degree oven, and you're like, oh,
Oh, oh.
yeah, yes.
No
So,
returns.
yeah, right.
Well, let's ask
Let's
ChatGPT what
find
it
out.
thinks. All right. When selecting an unfilled virgin PFA coating for Hastelloy C276 components in a high purity acid application, it's important to consider more than just chemical resistance and purity. Key factors include the specific acids and their concentrations, operating temperatures and pressures, coating method, spray, dip, or rotational lining, and required film thickness. You'll also need to account for mechanical stresses, regulatory standards like FDA or semicon, and the component's geometry, including welds or tight tolerances. Even though Hastelloy C276 is corrosion resistant, PFA may be used to prevent ion leaching or to improve cleanability. Defining product production volume, lead time, and any validation testing needed. Examples, spark or adhesion tests, is critical to choosing the right product and application process. That was ChatGPT's answer. I
Hmm.
heard a lot in there that I heard from you guys, but the main takeaway for me is it couldn't give an answer either. It would not commit Teflon malpractice. I guess it doesn't have insurance for that. But that's all I can see from this. Mike, what's your
Well,
reaction?
so there's some interesting things in there that it brought up that we didn't bring up. Like, hey, are you going to need to spark test this?
Mhm.
And if so, is there a spec around that? Does it need to be FDA, or I don't know what semicon designation is talking about. That could be a little. That's a kind of a. I'm not sure what that is.
Purity thing, maybe.
Um,
Mm.
so there's some interesting, some good info, but it didn't get even close to saying I need more information, or even get close to giving a product code or a product recommendation of saying this primer and this top coat. So, I mean, what if you go in there right now, Francesca, and go,
Mhm.
is there a specific primer and top coat product code I can use, and just see what it says?
It says,
What?
Get out of here.
all right. It says that Chemours does not typically use a primer plus top coat system for PFA the way it does with PTFE coatings. Instead, PFA coatings, especially for ultra high purity and chemical resistance, are often applied as thick film, single layer melt process coatings or linings using, and then it
Rotolining Wolf.
recommends PFA 851 314, PFA 958 203, PFA 950G 303. And then it says for primers, generally PFA coatings don't use a primer. In thin film spray applications, some applicators use a modified fluoropolymer primer for improved adhesion, especially if the surface prep is difficult or geometry is complex. So it says if a primer is required, something like 857G 414 and 851 314 used in carefully in specific layered systems.
Hmm. All right. So this is, we talk about things, they're pulling it from the internet. That's probably from the Chemours website, and those are products that are not available in the US. But they're also not really even the best PFA primer that's out there either.
Right.
So it didn't talk it, and there's some statements about thin film doesn't need primer. Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all over the map. And I think where ChatGPT is struggling is it doesn't really understand the difference between a coating and a lining and a rotomold. Like it's a PFA, but it's applied in different forms and in different manners. And so you asked it specifically about coatings, and it glossed over the word coating and just went to like, oh, this,
PFA.
you can do this. And
Right.
yeah, so
Is it
typical. Yeah,
true that typically Chemours does not use a primer and top coat system for PFA the way it does with PTFE?
that's not true at all.
Okay.
So
And then is it true that it's often applied as thick films, single layer melt process coatings or linings?
not coatings. Like a
Yeah, not
lining
good.
could potentially would be,
Yeah.
but not a coating.
Great. Wolfie, what do
So
you think of these? The 851 314, 958 203, and 950G 303.
Well, I'm gonna know what my prospects doing on the internet when they call me and give me those crazy product codes.
giveaway.
Because I mean, really, what they quote one product that we sell on there,
Right.
958 203, which is funny. They don't even have the G in there, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So maybe they found some old information. I'm not sure, but um, listen, they're close. I mean, they came up with some products for sure.
Mhm.
That's the right, kind of nomenclature or whatever you want to say in regards to the product code. There's a G, 950G 303. I don't even know what that is. Nothing that we
I bet it's
sell.
supposed to be
So
958. Yeah.
yeah.
So, what's kind of interesting? I didn't think about this until you just said something, Chris. I've had twice in the last month or so somebody call and reference a product code. And I was like, where did you get that code?
Mhm.
And I pulled up the global product list to think, I was like, maybe this is something that's in a different region and it wasn't on there. And when I was pressing about where they got the product code and nobody wanted to answer. They like both times people were like, yeah, I'm not sure. Because now is the big reveal is they were going on
They're using
AI to get it.
AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I would be really, really kind of afraid of is with this answer is people calling us every now and then we have people that want to do PFA without using primer, or they,
Mhm.
I want it to be clear or
Yeah.
unpigmented. And it says that typically, or this product can be applied without the use of a primer, and we don't, unless you're
Never.
coating over glass, we don't have that. Where we would recommend that you use PFA without primer. So
Hmm.
yeah, it really can kind of maybe lead
Yeah.
people correct.
This is definitely misleading.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Poor answer.
All right. So if you were grading ChatGPT's answer, what would you grade it A through F?
Yeah, I'll
Mike,
give it like a D.
a D.
I'm
Barely
going
passed.
D. There's a couple good points in the initial answer, but when you ask the follow-up question to it, it completely fell down.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Read the Spark Notes, didn't read the book.
Yeah,
Wolfie,
I'm D also, and I mean reason being is like I would be really afraid if that's what my prospect did, and then went to their meeting to
yeah.
meet with somebody and started throwing out like I can do this, no primers, or I'm going to put this product code on it, and they're like, what product code is that?
Hmm.
Type of stuff, or they call in and whatever. It's just there's a lot of misinformation in there right now. I mean, we know what we sell, we know what
Mm-hmm.
we have access to, and we know how it's applied.
I love
So
it. Great
it's 15
answer.
years of learning, and
Yeah.
like even longer.
Yeah. That's an A for the Teflon guys and a D for AI. All
That's right.
right.
Let's go.
Well, let's go to
Next victim.
example
Let's
number
go.
2. Yeah, let's see if this guy can get it right, maybe. Um, we had a customer ask for aluminum heat seal bars that need a non-stick and temperature-resistant coating up to 600 degrees Fahrenheit. What Teflon coating product meets these specifications, and how do we apply it to our heat seal bars? Mike, if you had this customer call in and ask that question, could you give a product recommendation based on this question alone?
Well, number one, no, because if I think the temperature rating was 600 F, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so we don't have anything over 500. So
Mm.
this is a pretty easy one in that like soon some people would say, "Oh, heat seal bars, yeah, we can coat those," and they are commonly coated. But I've never really seen those operating at that high of a temperature.
Hmm.
So the first thing I would do is I wouldn't just call a person say nope, we don't have anything because of your temperature. Sometimes they people get confused on what the temperature the coating is seeing. So
Yeah.
they may say it's running, the environment is this, but the coating itself may be only seeing 450 because it's the distance from the heat source or whatever it's going to be. So I would call to just inform the person that that temperature is above where Teflon could operate, but this is a part that's commonly coated with PTFE coatings, and urge them to or encourage them to check the actual part itself in service and make sure that it's not operating below that 600 because that just seems really hot.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Wolfie, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, seal bars, this is an easy one for us to like, pop off two products right off the bat that we know that people use for seal bars. And Mike's right, like that temperature seems awfully high. A couple things that I would want to know is a seal bar accessible? Is it easy to get out, recoatable? We normally would go PTFE and really go PTFE like three coat reinforced line because there is a durability factor there as well. Because they don't want to go in there and have to switch those things out all the time either. I mean, they definitely want it to last, and that is more like a put it in place and then kind of forget about it for a while because it just
Mm-hmm.
runs. Um, and the other option we've seen is sparkling PFA. But to Mike's point, they're both at 500 degrees top end temperature. So yeah, that guy needs to run back and confirm that temperature first, and come back to me, with new information. But that's kind of where we normally are at with that kind of end
Excellent.
use.
Excuse me. Excellent. Okay. So this is great because we're going to ask ChatGPT without correcting that temperature correction because user error is a big part of AI's answers. So when we asked ChatGPT, it said for aluminum heat seal bars operating up to 600 degrees F, a Teflon PTFE based industrial coating is ideal due to
God
its
damn it.
excellent non-stick and high temperature resistance. While
Jeez.
FEB coatings are available, PTFE is preferred for sustained high heat applications. These coatings typically use a two-coat system, primer and top coat, and require professional surface prep, HVLP spray application, and high
No.
temperature curing, making them unsuitable for DIY use. It's recommended to use a licensed applicator to ensure
There we
proper
go.
adhesion and
Oh.
performance, although raw materials can be purchased from authorized distributors like Intex
Oh.
Services if you have the required equipment.
Oh,
Now, hopefully they kept our cell phone numbers.
my email still
Oh,
comes over.
that's
So is mine,
It
actually.
fantastic.
is funny.
I still get Mark Berries.
Both.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay.
ChatGPT has spoken, and clearly Mike has some feelings about this. Mike,
I mean,
let's hear your
yeah.
response.
So, once again, it doesn't give a specific product code, so we can, but it also encourages that PTFE can be used, which it can at that temperature. And it even acknowledges the 600F. So, seriously, this is the type of thing that if this is an employee or someone we're working with and in the office, and when we find out they made that recommendation, it's an immediate sit down in re-education process.
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
is
I think we call that training.
or it's like severance of that show. Like, but yeah, this is a problem. This is like a basic, this is easy. And, and why it's referencing FEP is bizarre because that's
Yeah.
only good to 400.
And it's
Yeah, it
soft.
could be a two coat, which is okay. I mean, the best thing it said is that it does kind of require professional application process and recommends using licensed applicator. So I mean that's fine. But the heart of the matter is wrong.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Wolfie, anything to add? Did you catch any other misses that AI had in there?
Well, I mean, obviously the distributor is, you know,
It's a
not
little out of date.
a little out of date,
Yeah.
not accurate. Well, it's funny that it found in tech services and didn't find Fluorogistx.
Our
Um,
SEO was just so strong. And you must have had an
I
incredible
mean it was
marketing
strong.
director.
yeah.
So that's what this is leading.
Kudos to whoever that person was. But yeah, I mean, even after 2 years, still coming up, which
Yeah.
is funny over Fluorogistx. So, but now Mike was right on the money. I mean, that's just that 600 is kind of a deal breaker right off the bat. And as much as listen, we're never in a position where we're just trying to move coding out the door. I mean, it's got to be everything's got to fall into place. Can't just be like, well, you know what, it might work. Just you
Give
go
it a
with it.
shot.
Give it a
Yeah.
shot. Yeah, we were never trained that way or educated that way and or incentivized that way, because then you start putting those poor recommendations together because I just want to collect a couple bucks, and you start just crushing and destroying the Teflon name. So you don't want to do that.
That's a
And
great
our name
point.
too, for that
Yeah,
matter,
our
Chris.
name
You know
too.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
then it's like, I called them, but they gave me a bad recommendation 3 straight times. So,
Right.
I mean, it's our reputation too.
Mhm.
Right. Right. That's a great point. I
Yeah, I'm
found it
trying to
really
keep, I have an undefeated record of product recommendations. So,
you got to keep it going.
yeah,
um
Well,
do
never
you know
wrong. They just didn't do it right.
that's right.
see the episode on application failures
That's
then.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, I think it's interesting in here that it really specified that you need an HVLP spray
Yeah, that's not right.
application.
Yeah.
How
You can use HVLP, but you don't
sure.
have to.
You don't have to. Yeah, it's not a
Right.
requirement.
And it says it's making it unsuitable for DIY use. Is there Teflon that is suitable for DIY
No,
use?
I read that the high temperature curing part of it
Oh,
make it
okay.
like, because we do get calls where people are trying to like, oh, I'm just going to do it in my oven, like their home oven, literally. And
Mm.
Please do
Canary in the coal
not.
mine.
yeah, I
Crazy.
mean,
This is
Mm.
a do not try this at home kind of
yeah,
podcast show.
I don't even
Yeah.
like when my wife does like the self clean, let alone popping off some 958 203 in there.
Yeah, gas oven, man. We get that little hint of gas smell and people start freaking out.
Yes. All right. So we are at Teflon Guys 2 AI 0.
Yeah, that might be like suspension from work for a little bit for that, right?
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. So we're not even in the passing grade anymore. It's
Back
not
to
a
the
D.
warehouse.
They got to give back some boxes.
That's right. That's right.